Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And guess what? Thabo and Mbeki. I've hardly ever mentioned him on this channel. I think maybe once or twice in the whole time I've had it. With over 1,700 videos, that's not very often. But there's a good reason to mention Thabo right now. And here's a high five to Thabo. He's coming out in support with Steve Hofmeyr about that strange woman, Mandela Shlongwane, Zinzi. You know Zinzi? Zinzi, who sent out those tweets, those offensive tweets. Former President Thabo Mbeki has called for action to be taken against Zinzi Mandela Shlongwane, the country's ambassador to Denmark. Mbeki said the government should assess Mandela Shlongwane's tweets on the land debate, and if they were found to be inconsistent with what Cyril Ramaphosa was saying on the issue, action should be taken against her. He spoke to the Sunday Tribune in Durban, where he attended a UNISA graduation ceremony at the Nkosi Albert Lutuli International Conference Center. Mbeki admitted he was not up to date with the outcomes of the saga, but cautioned that no ambassador should represent their own views. Well said. Ambassadors are there for all the people, not for part of the people. There's no ambassador who represents themselves, and if Zinzi Mandela's tweets are inconsistent with what the president is saying, then that cannot be allowed. The president, I know, has been very insistent on this, that land reform must be done on a constitutional and legal basis, and such amendments of the Constitution are to clarify the circumstances in which you would expropriate land and without compensation, he said. Mbeki said Ramaphosa had not been communicating any views that would result in unnecessary conflict, which is exactly what Zinzi did. Talk about political correctness. Mbeki said, Ramaphosa has been saying this is a necessary task, and I think South Africans have agreed in the manner he has outlined it. And that's the message that any ambassador must communicate. Mbeki emphasized that the process of land reform had to be done legally and fairly within the confines of the Constitution. One of Mandela Shlongwane's tweets said, "Dear apartheid apologists, your time is over. You will not rule again. We do not fear you. Finally, our land is ours." She posted a series of tweets last weekend on the land issue, which resulted in widespread discussion and debate. The DA and the Freedom Front Plus called for her removal, while some members within the ANC ranks, including KwaZulu-Natal Premier Sili Zikalala and the EFF, supported her views. Well, we know how radical the KwaZulu-Natal mob are. Look what's going on with the trucking industry there. ANC veteran Mavuso Msimang labelled the support somewhat puzzling in an opinion piece published in The Independent on Saturday. Msimang said that both the EFF and the ANC were organisations that claimed to embrace the principles of both the Freedom Charter and the Constitution. He said when Zinzi Mandela refers to white cowards and shivering land thieves, she's indulging in hate speech. Yep, that's what Thabo and Mbeki said. When Zinzi Mandela refers to white cowards and shivering land thieves, she is indulging in hate speech and the use of abusive writing that expresses prejudice against a particular group, especially on the basis of race, religion, or sexual orientation. International Relations and Cooperation Minister Dr. Naledi Pandor told Mandela Shlongwane to conduct herself as a diplomat and to adhere to government's social media policy. Recently, Ramaphosa received a report on land reform from a panel appointed more than a year ago. It was chaired by Deputy President David Mabuza. Now, we all know that David Mabuza is like a mafioso chief. You know, he's got hit squads and he's got his fingers so deep in the trough that I'm surprised they're still there. I would have thought they'd have worn up but anyway. This is the nature of the ANC, completely corrupted. A parliamentary committee on land expropriation did not finish its work before May's general elections. As a result, a new committee is likely to be appointed to continue with the work. The last committee was chaired by Thabo Didiza. Now, if David Mabuza chairs that committee, God help South Africa, because he will be in there for himself in every way possible. You might as well rename South Africa David Mabuza Land, because he'll probably own all the land. That's the sort of man he is. Getting back to the story. Thabo Didiza was recently appointed to the cabinet as a Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. At least they didn't put the Speaker in that position. The woman who's facing animal cruelty charges? Absolutely incredible. Meanwhile, Mbeki also spoke about the high unemployment rate. He said more focus should be placed on technical colleges, which would provide young people with skills that would make them employable. Now, there was a very interesting article I read just a couple of days ago. And the article was about jobs that were cool amongst the black African population. Now, let's remember that because of BEE, when it comes to any job in South Africa, the white population can just forget about even applying for a job because it's going to go to a black person, because the industries need to be BEE compliant to get any work at all from government and big industry. So the whole thing is completely racist, completely off the rails. And what's happening now is that the young blacks, who are over 50% of them unemployed, but they won't even go and do training in jobs that they consider uncool. And one of those jobs is making bricks. Now, it might sound fairly mundane, but I tell you what, in a couple of weeks' time, Mia, when we have our big weekend, she's going to be showing these white squatter camps how they can build houses using empty plastic bottles filled with dirt and then putting them in the line like a wall and then compacting them with mud and building the most beautiful little homes. She's an incredibly talented lady. But, I have to say, the white person will do that because they're looking after their family. The black person, if it's an uncool job, they'll say, nah, we're not going to do that. And I'm not trying to be racist. I'm just saying how it is, guys. That's how it is. Meanwhile, Mbeki also spoke about the high unemployment rate. He said more focus should be placed on technical colleges, which would provide young people with skills that would make them employable. We need to refashion our communication around higher education and say to young people, you actually have two choices, university or technical college, and they must decide what they want to study. That would make them employable. We cannot be producing more graduates and become unemployable, he said. Well, that's the voice of reason. What's happened is that post-Mbeki, when Zuma came in and the government was so corrupt, it was just ridiculous. And Ramaphosa is not better. There's a 400 million rand corruption claim involving Ramaphosa, which is just starting to gather traction at the moment. I'm not going to talk about it at this stage because I need more information, but Ramaphosa could well be impeached. And the issue there is if he's impeached, guess who's waiting in the wings? A man who makes Ramaphosa look like an angel. Ace Magashule, the ANC Secretary General. The man who was the focus of the book by Peter Myburgh in the titled book, Gangster State. So, if you look at the top of the ANC ladder in South Africa, it's corruption all the way through. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates and have a great day. Bye for now.